Howdy, and welcome to episode 130 of In the Rabbit Hole's Urban Survival Podcast. In this episode, we discuss those very naughty dogs in our ITRH Summer Shorts session. I'm your host, Aaron, and you are in the rabbit hole, safe and sound. Today, we're going to continue on the theme of episode 129, and we're going to specifically address sheepdogs. Now, most of you know this is the ITRH Summer Shorts series, and what that means. But for those of you that don't know because you're new or because for some reason you missed the last episode, I'll explain quickly. Every year we go on summer break to recharge our batteries and revitalize and do the things that we need to do to stay normal, functioning, happy, healthy human beings. And normally we completely go off the air for roughly about 3 months. However, this year we're doing something a little different, short 15-minute episodes. Think of them as bonus episodes. Now, typically ITRH runs for an hour or more. Like I said, these are going to be short episodes, hence the name Summer Shorts, and run again for about 15 minutes. And usually I have a co-host, but today I do not. Jason is out doing Mother's Day stuff, so today it's just you and me. What are we going to talk about? Well, we're going to spend the next few summer short episodes expanding on the ideas we presented in episode 129. So let's get to it. Recently, I started listening to Superintelligence by Nick Bostrom. For those of you that aren't familiar with the title, it's an examination and pontification on artificial intelligence. Specifically, it poses the question of what happens when machines surpass human intelligence. It's one of those books I'll probably have to read at least 2 or 3 times, to be honest. Fascinating, but definitely not a light read. Anyway, there's a chapter about what motivates a superintelligence to turn against humanity. In some ways, this describes part of the problem with unchained sheepdogs. We'll call this mission perversion. Now, to back up for just a moment, for those just tuning in, this episode will seem random if you do not first listen to episode 129. While this is intended to be a self-contained episode, it'll make a lot more sense if you understand the metaphors, why we're using them, and where this is all going. So again, make sure you listen to episode 129 first. Now, assuming everyone here has done that, we'll continue. So mission perversion is when the spirit and intent of a mission gets distorted. You can think of it as mission creep, which is a little more common of a phrase. Mission creep is really where things just kind of slowly go askew. Mission perversion is when things have crept to the point where, well, they're perverted and not in an entertaining way, usually. Think of it this way. A person finds a genie lamp and rubs it. The genie pops out and says to the person that they get 3 wishes. The person asks for $1 million. The next thing you know, they're being trampled to death by 1 million male deer in their own living room. Now, going back to the AI thread and getting away from that really weird visual, we could use the example of the Will Smith movie, I, Robot. And this is not to be confused with the vacuum cleaner, I, Robot. Anyway, the I, Robot goes rogue because of a mission perversion to protect and serve humanity. It ends up concluding that humanity is its own worst enemy and seeks to sequester all human freedom. And that protection even means killing certain humans it deems as standing in opposition. After all, anything that is opposing is by its very nature standing in the way of the goal, protecting humanity. We have mission perversion. Trouble ensues. Will Smith saves the day. Shocking. In the meantime, I sent out an email where I called y'all peppers instead of preppers because Microsoft Word autocorrect had mission creep, which is somewhere on the road to full-blown mission perversion again. So I'm going to keep a close eye on Microsoft Word over here. While I'm on the topic, we're very close to launching what we're been calling the ITRH Roving Horde Armada. If you were one of those people that accidentally called a pepper the other day, be sure to watch your email inbox Tuesday, May 12th at 10 a.m. for launch time and date. If you did not get that email, well, it means you're not on the Roving Horde list, but rest assured, we'll share with you what's going on soon. Anyway, mission perversion. What we have with Sheepdogs and ourselves is mission perversion. Now, a lot of this is going to be centric to the United States, but in essence, it applies to everywhere in the world. But coming back to the United States, we have a political system that it has deemed us sheep instead of shepherds. We have a law enforcement system that has deemed us sheep instead of shepherds. But why? Well, because in many ways, most of the nation views themselves as sheep. As I illustrated with my mother's sheepdog example in 129, they're saying, we're sheep. Protect us from ourselves. Protect us from other sheep doing things we don't understand, like, or agree with. Feed us. Give us stuff. Tell us where to go and what to do when we get there. In most instances, it's time for us to rise up as good shepherds and tell the sheepdogs where they need to go and, well, what they can do with themselves when they get there. Not all, mind you, but many. There's still really good sheepdogs out there, like our friend Dan Blackford, who stood up and got involved and has done many things beyond being the stereotypical law enforcement sheepdog in his retirement, and our friend Chris Hernandez, who is still an active sheepdog, but really does actively promote and write about topics that really do border on, if not do become, being a good shepherd. So again, not all. I don't want anyone to think that we're talking about all sheepdogs here, but most, if not many. And again, sheepdogs applies not to just we're using it here not just to apply to law enforcement, but also any law enforcement or political body, anything that has or attempts to take control over you and your liberties or me and my liberties. We have people like Mitch McConnell, who's recently made claims that that spying on American citizens is okay, even though we keep having judicial bodies say, no, that's really not okay. And he keeps saying, well, we should take his word for it. And it's a good thing. Let's have a listen real quick.
Now, Madam President, since the unlawful leaks of NSA programs, opponents of our counterterrorism program have painted a distorted picture of how these programs are conducted and overseen by exploiting the fact that our intelligence community cannot discuss classified activities. Since September the 11th, 2001, FISA has been critically important in keeping us safe here in America. According to the CIA, had these authorities been in place more than a decade ago, they would likely have prevented 9/11. Not only have these tools kept us safe, there has not been a single incident, not one, of intentional abuse of them. The NSA is overseen by the executive.
Wait a minute. I got to stop right there. No abuse? Because the government or ours or anybody's never abuses anything. The IRS didn't target conservatives and liberty-oriented groups or anything like that. Or our presidents, sheepdogs in chief, if you will, never lied to us, do they? It's coming, but it's fun to do anyway. So let's have a listen to a few of the more recent, whoppers.
And I want to say this to the television audience. I made my mistakes, but in all of my years of public life, I have never profited from public service. I've earned every cent. And in all of my years of public life, I have never obstructed justice. And I think, too, that I can say that in my years of public life, that I welcome this kind of examination, because people have got to know whether or not their president is a crook. Well, I'm not a crook.
My opponent won't rule out raising taxes, but I will, and the Congress will push me to raise taxes, and I'll say no, and they'll push, and I'll say no, and they'll push again, and I'll say to them, read my lips. No new taxes.
I want you to listen to me. I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. I never told anybody to lie, not a single time, never. These allegations are false.
I'll make our government open and transparent so that anyone can ensure that our business is the people's business. And as president, I'm going to make it impossible for congressmen or lobbyists to slip pork barrel projects or corporate welfare into laws when no one's looking. Because when I'm president, meetings where laws are written will be more open to the public, no more secrecy. That's a commitment I make to you as president. When there's a bill that ends up on my desk as president, you, the public, will have 5 days to look online and find out what's in it before I sign it. And that is why, as we develop a full budget that will come out this spring, we're going to go through our books page by page, line by line, to eliminate waste and inefficiency. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period.
Okay, I got to cut that one off there. It just keeps going and going and going. So the result here is that, well, maybe they're not so honest. The simple truth is this. Sheepdogs, left to their own devices, suffer mission creep and lead to mission perversion at best. At worst, they become the wolves we've tasked them with keeping at bay. And the simple answer is this. It's time for us as good shepherds to reclaim what can only be called a dereliction of duty by the American people. For that matter, citizens of the world. Dereliction of duty, defending their own liberty. Enemies foreign and domestic. Bad things happen. We don't want to be bothered with them. It's easier to tell someone else, just take care of it. And that's how we become sheep and give up our responsibilities to be the shepherd. But don't be surprised when you turn to find the sheepdog mistreating the sheep, pissing on the rug, humping your leg, and engaging in mission perversion. On a final note about Section 215, don't be surprised if they ramp up the heat on this in the near term here. I'm sure we'll start hearing about ISIS and homegrown terror and how the NSA has to have all this power to keep us safe. And don't be surprised when Americans beg for it. We have to be the good shepherd, standing guard for our own liberty. No one else will do it. Not the sheepdogs, not the sheep, and damn certainly not the wolves. And with that, we wrap up episode 130, the first of the In the Rabbit Hole Summer Shorts. From the Lone Star State. Till next time, stay safe and sound.